You know, turning 70 isn't a finish line. It's a beautiful new beginning. It's a chapter of life many never get to write. And yet, here we are, pens in hand, with the wisdom of experience and the freedom to finally live on our own terms. But here's the thing, no one tells you. Some of the things we used to believe, the habits we formed, the expectations we lived under, they just don't fit anymore. What made sense in our 40s, even in our 60s, can feel heavy or out of place now. And that's not a loss. That's a gift. See, this stage of life is not about shrinking or stepping back. It's about shedding what no longer serves us so we can make room for joy, ease, and genuine connection. So today, I want to share 12 things that, in my experience and maybe yours too, just don't make sense anymore after 70. And I hope, as we walk through each one, you'll feel a sense of relief, a spark of recognition, maybe even a bit of excitement. Because when we let go of the things that weighed us down, we make space for what truly matters. And trust me, the last one, well, it might just shift the way you see yourself completely. So settle in, pour yourself a cup of something warm, and let's talk woman to woman. You've come so far. Now let's make this next chapter one worth savoring. Let's be honest. Most of us have spent decades being told what beauty is supposed to look like. Smooth skin, shiny hair, slim waist, and heaven forbid we show a wrinkle or a gray hair in public. But can I tell you something that took me far too long to learn? Beauty has nothing to do with turning back the clock. In fact, after 70, beauty takes on an entirely different and far more meaningful shape. For years, I bought into the illusion. Creams that promised youth in a bottle. Hair dye every few weeks so no one would see my age. I even considered a little nip and tuck at one point just to keep up appearances. But here's what I've come to realize. The most radiant women I know aren't the ones who look the youngest. They're the ones who look the most alive. Do you know what true beauty looks like now? It's the way your eyes light up when you see your grandchildren run through the door. It's the warmth in your smile when you tell a story that makes everyone laugh. It's the peace in your face when you're sitting quietly with a cup of tea, grateful just to be here. Those laugh lines around your mouth? They're not flaws. They're the footprints of every joyful moment you've lived. That softness around your eyes? It's evidence of all the compassion you've shown. You see, we've earned our features. They're not things to fix. They're badges of honor. And let's talk practicality for a moment. Why spend hundreds of dollars on treatments and products trying to erase age when that same money could go towards something that feeds your soul? A weekend getaway with old friends, a watercolor class you've always wanted to try, a garden full of flowers that bloom just for you. From here on out, beauty isn't something we chase. It's something we carry, and it shows most when we're at ease with ourselves, when we walk into a room fully present, fully real, and unapologetically ourselves. So let the world see your age. Let them see your laughter, your grace, your strength. Because after 70, beauty isn't about looking younger. It's about shining from the inside out. Let me ask you something, my friend. How many drawers in your home are filled with things you haven't touched in years? Be honest. We all have them. That one overstuffed closet. The box of old scarves you haven't worn since the 90s. The kitchen gadget you swore you'd use but never did. For a long time, I held on to things because I thought I should. Gifts I didn't like. Clothes I hoped to fit into again. Stacks of magazines I planned to read one day. And every time I walked past them, I didn't realize it, but they were quietly whispering, "You're not enough. Not yet. Not quite." It wasn't just stuff. It was mental clutter too. Old regrets, worries about things long past, the weight of what ifs. And one day I looked around and realized something powerful. The more I carried, physically and emotionally, the heavier my spirit felt. It was like dragging a suitcase full of memories and expectations through a life that had already changed. So I started letting go, one drawer at a time, one thought at a time. I'd hold up an item and ask, does this still bring me joy? Does it serve my life today? If the answer was no, I said thank you and let it go. And do you know what happened? Space, not just in my home, but in my heart. Suddenly, my living room felt brighter. My mornings felt calmer. I could breathe easier, not because of the things I had, but because of the weight I'd released. Here's the truth. Clutter isn't just mess. It's a distraction. It keeps us from fully living in the moment, from hearing our own thoughts, from being at peace. After 70, we don't need more. We need meaning. And when your space reflects simplicity, your soul can finally rest. So whether it's a cluttered cabinet or a cluttered mind, let today be the day you choose freedom. Not because you have to, but because you deserve to live light. You know, for most of our lives, we've been the glue, the peacemakers, the fixers, the ones who stepped in when things got messy. Maybe it was to protect our children. Maybe it was to keep harmony in the family. Or maybe it was just what we believed good women did. Solve problems, smooth edges, keep the peace, no matter what. Let me paint a picture. Two grown children arguing over where to spend the holidays. You want everyone to get along, so you step in, suggest compromises, try to mediate, maybe even host the gathering yourself just to keep the family united. And what happens? You're exhausted. No one's happy. And suddenly, you become the one caught in the middle, bearing the weight of a problem that wasn't even yours to begin with. I've been there, too many times. And here's what I've learned the hard way. Not every battle is mine to fight. Just because we care deeply doesn't mean we're responsible for everyone's emotions. Just because we have wisdom doesn't mean we need to give advice every time. Sometimes, the strongest, wisest, most peaceful thing we can do is step back. It doesn't mean we stop caring. It means we start protecting our peace. I used to get pulled into long-standing disagreements, distant family drama, even arguments between friends. But the truth is, life is too precious now. Our energy is too precious to be spent untangling knots that others are meant to untie for themselves. We've earned the right to choose serenity over stress, to sit in a room full of noise and choose silence, to listen without reacting, to love without meddling. So the next time someone tries to hand you a problem that's not yours, I invite you to ask yourself, is this worth my peace? If the answer is no, then it's okay to gently step back. You've done your part. You've given enough. Now is the time to focus on your joy, your health, and the calm that comes from letting go of what was never yours to carry. Let me ask you something gently. When was the last time you said yes to something when your heart really wanted to say no? It might have been a volunteer event you didn't feel up to, or a last-minute family gathering that left you drained, or maybe it was as simple as a phone call you weren't in the headspace to take. But you answered anyway, because that's what we do, right? We show up, we smile, we give. Because for so many years, we believed that being busy meant being valuable, that our worth was somehow tied to our calendars being full and our homes always open. But after 70, I've learned a quiet truth. Every yes to something or someone else is also a no to myself. I remember a season when my schedule was overflowing. Grandkids' birthday parties, charity bake sales, community meetings, afternoon teas. I told myself, this is good. This means I'm active, engaged, needed. But deep down, I was tired. not just physically, but spiritually. I miss the slow mornings, the ones where I could sip tea in my robe, journal a little, listen to birdsong instead of deadlines. I missed sitting with a book, or just letting the day unfold without a list of to-dos. And one Sunday, after rushing to yet another event I didn't really want to attend, I came home, kicked off my shoes, and thought, why am I doing this to myself? That was the turning point. Now, before I say yes to anything, I ask myself two simple questions. Will this bring me joy? Do I truly have the energy for this? If the answer is no, then I bless it, and I let it pass. And here's the beautiful surprise. People understand. They really do. Because many of them are learning the same lesson too. My calendar today, it looks different. It's softer, simpler, full of space, not just for rest but for meaning, for the things that lift my spirit, not just fill my hours. Saying no isn't selfish. It's sacred. Because in saying no to what drains you, you're saying yes to the life you actually want to live. Let's take a deep breath together and tell the truth. We've spent a lifetime trying to get everything just right. The perfect home, the perfect meals, the perfect outfit. Perfectly ironed, with hair done just so. And do you know what all that striving for perfection really gave us? Exhaustion. I still remember one Thanksgiving in vivid detail. I had scrubbed every corner of the house until it sparkled, polished the silver, made 3 desserts from scratch, including one I'd never even tried before. I even folded napkins into fancy little fans I saw in a magazine. Everyone complimented the food. They laughed, shared stories, made memories. And I missed most of it. I was in and out of the kitchen, wiping spills, checking the oven, fretting over whether the gravy was just right. Looking back, I don't remember how that new dessert tasted, but I do remember feeling like I was everywhere but at the table. That day, something shifted. I asked myself, who am I doing this for? Because the people I love didn't come for a perfect pie or polished forks. They came for me. After 70, perfection starts to look a lot less appealing, and presence, being fully there in the moment, starts to look like the real treasure. Now, when I host friends, there might be a little dust on the shelves. The cookies might be store-bought. The soup might be simple. But the conversations? Rich. The laughter? Real. The warmth in the room? Undeniable. And you know what? Not once has anyone complained that the napkins didn't match. Here's what I've come to believe with all my heart. Perfection is a prison. Presence is freedom. So let's stop chasing some impossible standard. Let's wear the comfortable dress, serve the easy meal, laugh when something spills. Because at this stage of life, our legacy won't be how tidy our homes were. It'll be how deeply we loved, how present we were, and how real we allowed ourselves to be. I'll be the first to admit it. Taking care of your health can sometimes feel like a full-time job. Doctor's appointments, new prescriptions, changing diets, exercise plans. It's a lot. And when we're tired or busy or simply not in the mood, it's easy to say, I'll deal with it later. But here's the truth. I wish someone had told me earlier. Nothing is more inconvenient than losing your health. For a while, I brushed things off. A little stiffness in the morning? Normal? A few extra pounds? Who has time to worry about that? Fatigue? Probably just the weather. But those little things added up. One day, climbing the stairs felt harder than it used to. Then I noticed I wasn't sleeping well. I was more irritable, more tired, less myself. And finally, I realized I had been putting off my own well-being, like it was optional. We spent so many years taking care of everyone else, packing lunches, sitting in waiting rooms with our kids, cooking meals, folding laundry, tending to others' needs before ever asking what we needed. But now it's our turn. Our health is not a side project. It's the foundation for everything we still want to enjoy. Whether it's traveling, spending time with grandkids, tending a garden, or simply waking up each day with energy and ease, our bodies carry us through it all. I'm not talking about extreme changes or overnight transformations. I'm talking about the small, loving habits that add up. Maybe it's stretching for 10 minutes each morning. Maybe it's choosing whole foods more often than packaged ones. Maybe it's walking with a friend, or finally booking that checkup you've been putting off. And yes, it might mean saying no to things that drain you, and yes to more rest, more water, more quiet time. I know aging brings aches, limitations, and sometimes scary diagnoses. But you know what else it brings? Wisdom. And with that wisdom, we can care for ourselves not out of fear, but out of love. So let's stop putting ourselves last. Let's honor our bodies, not because we want to look like we did at 40, but because we want to feel like ourselves again. Strong, steady, whole. Because after 70, health isn't about perfection. It's about preserving the joy in every day we're blessed to wake up and say, I'm still here, and I choose to feel good. This one isn't easy, because for many of us, loyalty runs deep. We've stood by friends for decades. We've given grace, second chances, and understanding, again and again. We were raised to believe that ending a relationship, especially one with history, meant failure. That we should keep the peace, avoid conflict, and keep showing up, no matter how much it drained us. But here's a truth that quietly changed my life. Not every relationship is meant to last forever. I had a friend, let's call her Linda. We'd known each other for over 30 years. She was there during big life moments, through births and losses, holidays and heartaches. But over time, something changed. Every conversation became heavy. There was always complaining, gossip, negativity. Whenever I left our time together, I didn't feel uplifted. I felt exhausted. Still, I told myself, we've been friends so long, I can't just walk away. But then I asked myself something I'd never dared to before. If I met her today, would I choose this friendship? And that question broke something open. Because after 70, our time is too precious, and our peace too sacred to spend with people who leave us feeling small, unheard, or unseen. Ending that friendship was hard. I grieved the good memories. I questioned myself. But deep down, I knew it was the right choice. And do you know what happened next? Room. Room for relationships that fill me, not deplete me. Room for phone calls that make me laugh. For people who listen, uplift, and love without condition. Letting go of toxic people doesn't make you unkind. It makes you wise. Because your energy, your joy, your presence, they are not things to be wasted. You've spent a lifetime giving to others. Now is the time to protect your circle and fill it only with what nourishes your spirit. You deserve peace. You deserve joy. And you deserve to spend these years surrounded by people who truly see you and love you just as you are. I'll be honest with you. There was a time I looked at smartphones and tablets like they were from another planet. So many buttons. So many apps. So many chances to press the wrong thing and end up in a place I couldn't get out of. I'd say things like, "That's for young people," or "I don't need all that nonsense." And for a while, I believed it. Until one day my granddaughter sat beside me and said, "Grandma, let me show you something." She handed me a tablet and opened up a video call. Within seconds, I was face to face with my sister who lives across the country, and I hadn't seen her in over a year. We laughed. We cried. We talked for over an hour. And just like that, the fear I'd carried about technology started to melt away. Because here's the truth. Avoiding technology doesn't keep us safe. It keeps us disconnected. And I don't mean just from family and friends. I mean from the world, from opportunities, from new experiences that could bring joy, convenience, and yes, even confidence. After that call, I decided to stop telling myself what I couldn't do. I learned how to send emails, how to look up recipes online. I found a community of women just like me, sharing tips, advice, even book recommendations. I watched videos on stretching, meditation, container gardening. I even learned how to say a few phrases in Spanish. Was it overwhelming at first? Absolutely. Did I make mistakes? You bet. But every small win, every button I learned to press, everything I figured out on my own, felt like a quiet little victory. If you've been hesitant, I want you to know. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be fast. You just have to be willing. Ask for help. Write things down. Take your time. But don't let fear keep you from discovering what's possible. Because staying connected in today's world isn't just about gadgets. It's about staying engaged in life. And you, my friend, deserve to feel a part of it. Fully, confidently, joyfully. I'll be honest with you. There was a time I looked at smartphones and tablets like they were from another planet. So many buttons, so many apps, so many chances to press the wrong thing and end up in a place I couldn't get out of. I'd say things like, "That's for young people," or "I don't need all that nonsense." And for a while, I believed it. Until one day my granddaughter sat beside me and said, "Grandma, let me show you something." She handed me a tablet and opened up a video call. Within seconds, I was face to face with my sister who lives across the country, and I hadn't seen her in over a year. We laughed, we cried, we talked for over an hour. And just like that, the fear I'd carried about technology started to melt away. Because here's the truth. Avoiding technology doesn't keep us safe. It keeps us disconnected. And I don't mean just from family and friends. I mean from the world, from opportunities, from new experiences that could bring joy, convenience, and yes, even confidence. After that call, I decided to stop telling myself what I couldn't do. I learned how to send emails, how to look up recipes online. I found a community of women just like me, sharing tips, advice, even book recommendations. I watched videos on stretching, meditation, container gardening. I even learned how to say a few phrases in Spanish. Was it overwhelming at first? Absolutely. Did I make mistakes? You bet. But every small win, every button I learned to press, everything I figured out on my own, felt like a quiet little victory. If you've been hesitant, I want you to know. You don't have to know everything. You don't have to be fast. You just have to be willing. Ask for help. Write things down. Take your time. But don't let fear keep you from discovering what's possible. Because staying connected in today's world isn't just about gadgets. It's about staying engaged in life. And you, my friend, deserve to feel a part of it. Fully, confidently, joyfully. If there's one habit that took up too much space in my life, it's this one: worrying about what other people think. From the clothes I wore, to how I hosted dinner, to the way I parented, spoke, even aged, I carried the weight of other people's opinions like a heavy coat I didn't know how to take off. And you know what? It was exhausting. We're taught early on to be nice, polite, agreeable. We worry about fitting in, not rocking the boat, making sure no one thinks less of us. We change our hair, our tone, our truth, all for approval we may never even get. But let me ask you something. How many of those opinions really mattered in the end? Did worrying ever bring you peace? Did it ever help you sleep better? Feel freer? Love yourself more? For me, the turning point came in a dressing room. I found a bold floral dress, bright red and wild with color. It made me feel alive, but I hesitated. What if it's too loud? Too much? What will people think? My daughter, standing nearby, looked right at me and said, "Mom, who cares what anyone thinks? If it makes you happy, wear it." And in that moment, I did. And I beamed. Because here's the quiet truth about turning 70. You've earned the right to stop shrinking, to speak your mind, to take up space, to dress boldly, laugh loudly, to live in a way that feels true, not safe, not quiet, not small, true. There will always be someone who doesn't approve, but their opinions are not your responsibility. Your joy is. So wear what you love. Say what needs saying. Dance even if they're watching. Paint your nails purple. Speak your truth. Take that solo trip. Do the thing that lights you up inside. Because if not now, when? You don't owe the world an explanation for who you are. You've already spent decades showing up for others. Now show up for you. And let your happiness be the loudest opinion in the room. Let's talk about something most of us don't want to talk about. Money. For a long time, I avoided the topic altogether. I told myself, I'm fine. I've always managed. And that was true. Mostly. But deep down, there was a little voice that whispered, what if something changes? What if I get sick? What if I outlive my savings? And still, I stayed busy and distracted, because looking closely at our finances, especially later in life, can feel uncomfortable, even scary. We don't want to see mistakes. We don't want to admit uncertainty. And we certainly don't want to feel vulnerable. But here's what I finally learned. Avoiding your finances doesn't protect your peace. It threatens it. I've seen women spend years pinching pennies, terrified to touch their savings, only to reach 85 and realize they never took that trip, never bought the piano, never did the things they worked so hard to afford. I've also seen others, loving, generous souls, give beyond their means to adult children or loved ones, and then find themselves quietly struggling. So one day, I took a deep breath, sat down with a trusted financial advisor, and laid it all out. What I had, what I spent, what I feared, and what I hoped. And you know what? It wasn't nearly as scary as I thought. In fact, it felt like putting both feet on the ground for the first time in a while. We made a plan, one that included not just needs and bills, but joy. A little fund for fun, some travel, a monthly treat. I gave myself permission to enjoy what I've earned, while still planning wisely for what may come. Because the truth is, after 70, money is about freedom and peace of mind, not status, not numbers, not guilt. And whether you have a little or a lot, you deserve to feel confident and clear about it. So please, don't be afraid to look at your finances, ask questions, get support, make adjustments. But most of all, don't wait. You worked hard for what you have. Now let it work for you. Because every dollar spent on something that brings you peace, pleasure, or purpose is money well spent. Let's be honest. Aging has a reputation. We're told it's something to fight, to hide, to dread. Anti-aging creams, hair dyes, subtle messages that say, don't let them see your age. And for years, I bought into it. I avoided birthday candles, dodged questions about how old I was, looked in the mirror and wondered, where did she go? But one morning, not so long ago, I stood in front of that same mirror and paused. Really paused. And I saw something I hadn't noticed in a long time. Not just the lines or the gray, but the story they told. The little crease at the edge of my mouth? That's from years of laughter I wouldn't trade for anything. The softness under my eyes, late nights rocking babies, wiping tears, mine and others. The silver streaks in my hair, markers of time, of wisdom, of survival. I realize that aging isn't a thief, it's a witness. It has seen you through heartbreak and healing, through loss, through love, through growing into a woman who knows her worth. And yet, so many of us are still afraid. Afraid of becoming invisible, afraid of being less than, afraid that our best days are somehow behind us. But let me tell you, with every part of my soul, aging is not the end. It's the becoming. Now, I don't try to look younger. I try to look present, alive, grateful. Because what aging has given me, perspective, softness, courage, I wouldn't trade for any wrinkle-free version of myself. And no, not every part of aging is easy. There are aches and losses, and yes, moments of doubt. But there's also freedom. Freedom to stop proving. Freedom to speak gently to yourself. Freedom to live deeply, honestly, and without apology. So let's stop letting fear whisper lies in our ears. Let's look aging in the face and say, "Thank you. I'm still here. I'm still becoming. And I'm not done yet." Well, here we are. 12 things that no longer serve us after 70. 12 gentle reminders that this season of life isn't about holding on tighter. It's about finally letting go. Letting go of perfection, of clutter, of toxic people and tired roles. Letting go of shoulds and old stories and the exhausting need to prove ourselves. And in the space that's left behind, what do we find? Freedom, clarity, peace. Because aging, my dear friend, is not about fading. It's about becoming more vivid, more you than you've ever had the chance to be. So whether one of these messages stirred something in your heart, or maybe all 12 rang true, I hope you feel this truth deep in your bones. You are not done growing, you are not done living, and you are most certainly not done shining. You have nothing left to prove, only joy left to pursue, only love left to give, only moments left to savor, slowly, sweetly, and fully awake. Thank you for spending this time with me. If these words felt like a warm cup of tea for your spirit, I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't yet, I invite you to join our little circle, subscribe, leave a comment, or sign up for the Savvy Senior newsletter. There's always room for one more wise woman around the table. Until next time, remember this: you are not just aging, you are blooming in a season uniquely your own. And the world is better because you're still here, living it, your way. With love, until we speak again.